Hello friends, it's me, and today let's watch What is the True Secret of the Mimic featuring Darko, FuhNaff, RyeToast, HyperDroid, IDsFantasy from the GameTheoryREACT. Together, let's go, let's start. Thank you. So I need to apologize to you first. The first 5 minutes of the video is going to be stream starting soon. So you can get back to me later. Okay, I'll be eating some food here and there. I got water. And yeah, see you in 2 hours. Sorry, 2 hours plus, sorry. Right now I'm filming this at 3:37 AM. By the time I finish, it'll be like what, 6:37 AM. Whew. Happy Friday, I suppose. Happy Friday. So it's 12th of September 2025 and oh yes. So this video okay, so this thing, right, came after this video came out. Yeah, it came after this video came out, and this video came out, and also this video came out. Notice that William is a thief and William is actually innocent. These two videos are unlisted, and I reacted to both of them, so hopefully I'm not in trouble. Sorry, game terrorists. Sorry. Yeah. This is a very long video, gosh. 3:38 PM, 3:38 AM. Everybody's asleep. By the time I finish everything, people will be like, good morning! Let's start the day! Happy Friday, TGIF! Yeah. So you got 4 minutes plus, 3 minutes to go. Soon. Sit back, relax, have something to eat, and yeah. Hopefully I can just one-shot this entire thing. Start to finish. Hopefully. Itadakimasu. So, also this. By the time I finish everything, sunrise. So 2 minutes plus to go. Ah, 4分。
Hey! Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, the show that knows to solve the FNAF lore, you have to bring in the cavalry. What?
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory. Hello, subscribe.
Thank you guys for tuning in to us live, especially on the Game Theory channel. This is a very exciting day. This is our big finale of our Secret of the Mimic extravaganza. We have done 4.5, technically, massive episodes on this, and there is, way more than we could talk about in just those theories alone. So much so that I'm sure you have seen theories across the internet by a bunch of wonderful, wonderful theorists just like us. And the whole thing with Secret of the Mimic is showing us that, hey, there's a bunch of new interpretations that can be had. There's a sense that we have to be open-handed and be willing to discuss. And so I thought it would be a good time to do that right here on this channel. So I have brought with me some fantastic friends of the channel, some wonderful theorists. Say hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Thank you guys so much for joining me. If you guys at home do not know these wonderful people, we have got the wonderful HyperDroid, we have FuhNaff, we have IDsFantasy, RyeToast, and of course, the staple to FNAF that is Dorko. Thank you guys once again. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. How is everybody doing today?
Good.
Pretty good.
Good. How are you?
Excited?
Yeah. No, I am doing good. I'm kind of like.
Wait. Everybody is doing an introduction, right? My turn. So, hello, friends. Hello from Singapore. I'm humdrum Singaporeans. I'm just another average Singaporean. Sorry. Oh, it's a bit blurry. Okay, it's too blurry. Sorry. There you go. I mean, to be fair, I'll be eating a lot.
I'm at that point of like, breathe. We've done the big final finale theory. Not to say there won't be more. Of course, there'll be more.
Yeah, we're all done. We did it.
Yeah, we're all done. We can all go home.
Yeah,
FNAF is done. Over. Finished. But I'm relieved to have done our big drive that we've been doing, and I'm excited to talk to you guys about the theories that you guys have as well, because I kind of spoke to these guys before stream, but I haven't watched any of the theories because I've been so busy in my own little FNAF bubble trying to solve it, and I didn't want to be influenced or accidentally take an idea subconsciously. So I'm really excited to dive into this stuff. And so for those of you at home, today what we're going to be doing is we're just going to have a discussion. We're just going to have some fun. We're just going to talk about our own theories, about discussions from the community. And so as part of that, at the end of this stream, I want to have some questions from you guys. And so throughout the stream, our wonderful friend and assistant Bree is going to be here partially teching to aggregate all of your questions. And at the end, she will be asking us some of those. So please send your questions in the chat, and we will try to get to them. Again, we may answer some of them by chance as we go through, but that is the plan. And also just give a big round of applause to Fisher, who is on tech for us as well today. Just want to make sure that the techs and the people behind the scenes are thanked just as much as the people who have taken the time to show up. So the first thing I guess we should talk about is, how are we feeling about Secret of the Mimic? What did we think? Did we like the game? What did we think of the lore? How are we all feeling now that we're 2 months out from the game's release?
Okay, so I start first. I feel what it feels like. I feel that it fixed a lot of lore by introducing more lore, I guess.
What?
Jeez, yeah.
That's
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right?
2 months.
It's crazy how quickly it's gone by. But yeah, no, I'd love to know kind of what, people saw mine and Ash's reactions. There were a bunch of them used in the theory today. Lots of screaming, lots of yelling, lots of freaking out. But yeah, how did you guys feel about the game? If anyone wants to go first.
Easily
Great.
top 2.
Loved it.
I mean, out the gate.
Agreed.
Easily top 2. It's only tied with Into the Pit for me. So if we're
Same.
talking mainline, best.
That's true. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not much of a playing horror person, but I managed to get myself
Too
to play through
scary.
part of it on my own, despite not liking jump scares. So
Honestly, I feel that in my soul. Before I had this job, I had never played an indie horror game. I'd watched a lot of indie horror games
Wow.
and like researched them, and then I got this job, and I was like, oh no, I'm gonna have to play them now. You do build up that tolerance, but yeah, I feel you on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do people feel about like the scares of this game? Because again, I know that was a big criticism of Security Breach, was the fact that it wasn't as scary as like previous FNAF games, which were much more dark, much more jump scare heavy. Like HyperDroid, what were your kind of thoughts on that one?
The White Tiger section, that was perfection. I love that section so much. That's my favorite section of the whole game. I thought the scares in the game were very good, especially compared to Security Breach and Ruin. They took like the horror from Ruin and the kind of free roam wherever you want to go from Security Breach. It was really good. I loved the game. One of my top games of FNAF.
Yeah, and I'd be remiss if I didn't ask Dorco, who has played every single FNAF game and bested them all. Like, well, what were your thoughts of this game once like playing it? And again, you were one of the first people to be releasing content about it as well. So like you got like first-hand experience before any patches or any fixes or anything like that.
Yeah,
So
no, I didn't get any issues at all. I don't think I got any bugs, like any major bugs either, which is really
Amazing.
impressive for a launch. Like Droid said. I think Steel will listen to the positive feedback when they released Ruin, because a lot of people really enjoyed Ruin, the horror aspects of it. Although Ruin was more linear, they listened to the feedback and thought, yeah, we'll get the positive feedback from Ruin and just make it more open and free roam, but still quite claustrophobic. You know, it's crazy how many areas we're exploring in just a factory. That the whole game's in a factory. So yeah, I loved it. Honestly, I really did, and I think a lot of people did too. So yeah, I'm very happy.
yeah, I think they really, as you guys have kind of said, they nailed the mix of linear and open world, where Security Breach was too big. It was so big, you know, the fact that, like, you know, for years after, John is still free cramming around the place finding new secrets for theories. You know, there's like, you know, I think, I can't remember, John, I think you showed me, like, this was years ago at this point, but you showed me the random toy Chica plushie that's in one vent. And it's the only toy Chica plushie in the entire complex for some reason. And so there's a lot of random stuff like that. But in this game, while there's a linear path you can take, there's encouragement to go backtracking, to get all the Mr. and Mrs. Helpfuls, to unlock the special rooms and to get like the parachute ending, or the the moon.exe ending. Yeah. And so it was a good balance. And the claustrophobia thing is interesting, because didn't they say that they initially were kind of making this for VR, with VR? Well, they were making it with VR in mind. They decided to focus on flat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think the VR version is still coming though, right?
Yeah.
It was they could only get one ready for launch, and they decided the flat was better. Which
that's the
which is a good decision. Great decision.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Most people have a PC or a console versus VR, and VR. You know, not everyone could do VR. It's very motion sickness inducing for a lot of people, so that can be a challenge. But I hope we get I hope we get something interesting. Like, do we expect that we'll get something? Like, we kind of got it a little bit with Help Wanted 2, where we get the VR version has like, or no, that was because it was the PSVR version, wasn't it? Got like a little something extra. Do we think
exclusive thing?
Do we think, like, and if there is an exclusive thing for Secret of the Mimic VR, what would we want it to be?
Ooh. I mean, I'd do a lot for what happened with Princess Quest 4 to happen to Moon.exe. I think that'd be really cool.
Oh, so you go inside the actual Moon.exe game. That would be cool.
To be able to like get a better look at some of that stuff.
Yeah,
that's
be
a
really
great
cool.
idea.
And like you're turning throughout the game anyway, like going to different areas. So if that's like literally you turning and you seeing the different areas, that would make sense.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
It'd be so intensive, so it's probably not happening, but it would be cool.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, no, it would be intensive, but it would be nice to be able to get hands-on with some of the items and see them, even if they're like a more glitchy, pixelated style, be able to like analyze the masks that we have to fix.
Yeah.
Don't remind me about those. There's so much I'm starting to think I understand about Moon.exe. I can't begin to understand the masks before you get the owl mask. That's a whole thing. I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Oh, there's so
And then I forgot about them.
That's the thing. That alone is like a game of theories to go forward with. There's so many. There's so much interpretation and so many interpretations as well, which is just like, oh god. I do think it's the thing that we love about FNAF though. It's that interpretation, that sense of like, how do these pieces fit, rather than like, here it is on a platter, which I think like some of Secret of the Mimic was, where it's a little bit more like, here is the, like, you know, Edwin's story for the most part is, here it is.
Yeah.
Which totally destroys everything else we know, but Edwin's story is a little bit more clear. So it's been a nice balance for it. Yeah, so it's been a really, really fun time. But I think a question that sprung to my mind, again, I'd love all of you guys to take some lead on this, because again, I know we are also a room full of a lot of different opinions leading up to this game. What do we think this means for the books?
Oh boy.
We're gonna again, like, it's one of those things.
Right. So I think maybe RyeToast makes a point. The books a bit, maybe some of them a bit L. Sorry.
That's what it means. That is what it means right there.
Sorry.
Big ol'
I love
L.
the Beatsplex books, but I think it does work very... I'm glad that it looks like Secret of the Mimic is changing things, because there were a lot of things in the book where it's like, it's fine, but Secret of the Mimic really enhanced the story.
Definitely.
And it was also just, if the books... Like, the books have always been a somewhat important source of information in the franchise, with, like, remnants being explained primarily in the books and whatnot. And I do think even now, the Tales from the Pizzaplex books can give interesting explanations for, like, how things work in universe at this point in time. But I like the story that Secret of the Mimic has for Edwin, Fiona, and David a lot better than the one in the books. And this way, you can enjoy the story of the games without having to do a day's worth of required reading. So that's nice.
30 books.
Couldn't agree more.
Let's go. Dyslexic wins. Yeah. So Rye, you clearly have some strong opinions here. I'd love to pick your brain on what your perspective is on this.
I mean, I always had been going in. So before a lot of like Secret of the Mimic and the trailers and stuff came out, I had always been taking Tales originally similar to the novel trilogy, kind of like you said, IDs, where like it's not the same story, but there is like overlap that you can get world building, you can get context for things. And I always said, and I think this was a podcast with, it might have been one of y'all. I don't remember who was on this podcast, but I said something along the lines of, if I think the Tales books are not in the games, I do not think they're the same story, but if we ever get, the name Edwin or something specifying as the Mimic, then I'll do the Stan Was Wrong song. And like a month later, we got the Edwin Mariko billboard.
5 Laps at Freddy's.
Yeah, in 5 Laps at Freddy's. So I was like, all right, yeah, I guess they're in continuity. And then like 6 months later, no, they're not. Okay, cool. So back to square one of, it's probably like related, but not the same.
Yeah.
It's just really funny seeing how like opinions evolve over time, because originally I was like, oh yeah, I took the thing on the back of the book that said, oh yeah, set in the world of the latest games. I'm like, okay, this means it's in the game timeline. And then I started noticing issues with the continuity, and I'm like, wait a second, if this is what's going on in the timeline here, that doesn't line up with this bit over here in the games. What's going on here? And I mentioned this on Twitter, and Twitter absolutely hated that take. And time went on, and my opinion went from, okay, it's in continuity, to being more like, at one point, Scott said that the Fazbear Frights books were in the FNAF universe, but there are some things in the Frights books that don't really line up with the games entirely, and like, whatever you think about whether or not the Stitch Wraith stuff is in the game timeline, there are some things in other stories that don't work. So, at least in my opinion. And so I started seeing it more like, okay, there might be ideas in this book that could get ported over to the games, like the story about GGY with him being Patient 46. And then those things would carry over. So I was like, okay, even if Edwin and the Mimic get mentioned in the games, that doesn't necessarily confirm that all of the events carry over one-to-one. Because we had William Afton in the novel trilogy, and those books are not in the game timeline.
100%. Yeah, no,
The Twin didn't like that take over, though.
Same.
No.
So I was very relieved when the game came out.
Sorry,
On the
right.
same point, though, on books, something that does need to be addressed, and I don't have an answer for it, and it scares me to my core, is that although the story is very much different, the book story is directly referenced in the game. There are those notes written from seemingly the perspective of M1, probably, that are describing the book events. That's awful, and I'm scared of that.
Yeah, no, I think in our video, I literally just went, how this is happening, I don't know, and moved swiftly on.
I've got to I don't know if I believe it.
Explanation for this.
It's like, how? I don't know. Sorry, I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah, it's I think there's going to be some interesting things when it comes to, again, we've got Mimic, we've got AI, we've got, again, we kind of explored the idea of an AI taking on bad information and getting information from weird places. I know some people have wondered if the books are in the game continuity as like books in the same way that the games are in the continuity. And so that might be an explanation. It might be why we have like fetch on an arcade machine in Security Breach. Those sorts of factors like might explain it. And so therefore there's like story, but again, this is early, which would therefore be weird for that story, the Mimic story, to exist in 1979 for the Mimic to have looked at. I don't know. Who knows how advanced? They prophesied Fazbear prophesied their own future. Who knows? But I have been meaning to ask because HyperDroid, I know that you for a long time have been a proponent of games being canon. So no, this is the thing. We're all friends. This is all part of it. This is not we're not here to dog on anyone for anyone's opinions. And you know, it's just a fascinating thing and Secret of the Mimic has been very clear that we have to be open-handed and like look at stuff. But I'd be fascinated to know like your perspective as someone who was a big fan of Tales games and the books are in continuity, how you now feel with the lore of things now.
Yeah, I actually really love that they're not canon, honestly. Just because
fantastic.
I thought they were. I did genuinely think they were, and you know, there was not much really contradicting them at the time. Like the GGY story, that could perfectly fit in there. Yeah. There was not much really arguing against it, but the story of Secret of the Mimic is basically the Mimic short story, but 100 times better in like every avenue. Yeah. It's just a better story. And so I'm glad they're not canon, even though I spent the last like 2-3 years thinking that they were. But that's fine.
I mean, technically they are still canon, just a different continuity.
Yes,
and that's a whole thing, right? Yeah. And I think I think it's good, and I think that's again part of the fun is being willing for us, all of us, to be willing to change our minds. Like, you know, Rye was talking about it leading up to the game coming out, like his mind changed, and then HyperDroid. Now you're saying actually, I'm kind of glad they're not, and like that's the thing. It's this. I think we can sometimes get so focused on trying to be right. And like, you know, because we want to be, because the story isn't there. Yes. And so we're like, please, we need to solve this. And then it's nice to be able to step back and go, hey, actually, I was wrong. And we can do that. And I've had my fair share of that with, you know, basically all my predictions for Secret of the Mimic were totally off base. But it's part of the fun. It's all. But you bring up like this again. I think we've all talked about it, and you know, like ID, you said like the story of GGY could basically be transferred almost one for one, and it doesn't mean that isn't what happened. It's just that thing of like game continuity and going, that's the evidence we have. So it's like, it's not to say it couldn't. It's just we don't have strictly direct. Change. Exactly, which I think is good. But we've talked about Edwin's story and how we all have loved the new story. Like, what has been. Why is it that we you guys love love this story? What are you like? Is it like what characters is it that has helped? What development do you think has made this story a deeper story that it works better for like the FNAF lore in general, but also just generally storytelling? Just to make sure we're going through. John, what are your thoughts?
Hi. So about the book stuff, I think a lot of people.
No, John, I'm sorry, John.
That's all right. Me and ID take the big crap after this game. It's all right. But
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have this black and white mentality when it comes to the books. Like they either all need to be in continuity, every detail needs to line up, or they're just all not. And I think it was never that black and white. It wasn't. And I think the reality of what you like you said, what makes this game a better version of that Mimic story is the Mimic story from the books. It would be very hard to adapt that into a fully fleshed game, because when you break it down, the setting of it is just an empty factory where the corner is just a little living space and a workshop, and that's it. Yeah, and
It's tiny.
It just wouldn't work as a game, so they had to fully flesh it out. I always thought that it would be very hard for them to adapt that story one-to-one to the game and keep every single detail the exact same as the book. So I do prefer the story in the game to the books as well, and that's kind of my thoughts on that. On that.
Yeah.
Doc, what do you
think that I think Steelwool did a great job with the story because of the tapes and the voice acting. I remember constantly, like before the game was released, I was like, Steelwool, please do voice acting, please do tapes of like Edwin. I was surprised about Fiona. I wasn't expecting Fiona, which was also good. It developed the bond between Edwin and Fiona more. And oh my god, my brain's gone numb. What's his name? David.
I agree, because having a voice that the players can listen to relates us better. Not just text on the screen, but actual audio. So, good job.
I was gonna say,
Here he has a ball.
Yeah, I was going to say Evan there. What the heck? Yeah.
God, we almost forgot David.
Yeah, the whole family relationship with the tapes, and the end as well, when you go to Edwin's house and you find the film tapes of David's birthdays, like stuff like that is so important to develop a story. And it's loads better than just getting like notes that you have to collect around the factory, and you just read notes about the story. So I'm very, very, very glad that Steelwool decided to take the voice acting and stuff. So
for sure. And just to clarify, I that doesn't mean I 100% agreed or liked every decision they made about the story. I thought the game itself was. I see you, Riley. I thought the game itself is phenomenal. The game itself is phenomenal, and it is literally top 3 FNAF game ever made. It's phenomenal, but some of the story decisions and the stuff, I'm like still iffy about it, and I'm still trying to digest it. To be completely honest.
I mean, do you have like a sneak peek of one of the things that you're unsure about? I'd love, like, again, you don't have to. If you don't want to share, you don't have to. But I'd love to. But no.
Okay. So I think my goal is to not be clipped on Twitter. That's my goal with the stream. But,
understood. Everyone, silent. John, what's your full opinion?
Your opinion that you 100% stand by. You are never changing this opinion.
The official take of the FuhNaff channel.
Literally, so the things that I was iffy about was R&D. I think if we're going to do such a big reveal of Fiona's designs were actually this, and Edwin actually made spring locks, and blah 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 blah, you need to be fully confident with that reveal, and it doesn't feel like they were, and it doesn't feel like they were willing to like say outright, this is actually the twist, this is actually what Edwin made, this is actually what Fiona made. I see people on Twitter and on YouTube say, Henry for sure made the original animatronics, and that is a fact. And anyone else who thinks differently is wrong. And then I see people say, well, Edwin and Fiona made the originals, and other people are actually wrong. So the whole fan base is once again split on something we thought we actually knew for certain. Because in the Silver Eyes trilogy, and it's said in official FNAF media that you can use the Silver Eyes trilogy to learn more about Henry and William in the games.
Yes.
And in the novel trilogy, Henry is that whimsical creator who has that childlike sense of imagination, who created the original animatronics, created the Springlocks, and it's brought into question some things that we thought were concrete, and I didn't like that, but it doesn't mean that it can't grow on me. It doesn't mean that the next game could clarify things and be like, great, like I understand now. But that's kind of my thoughts. Other than that, don't get me wrong, fantastic game. Fantastic.
I think it's a totally valid thing.
I agree. It's a valid nitpick about it. It's like, hey, it's a fantastic game. Yep. The lore-wise, a lot of new challenges
to point out again, like so part of our theory today was talking about exactly that, like what did Henry actually make, and it's something that is brought into question a lot. Like you say, the Silver Eyes literally has quotes talking about Henry making the Springlocks, but then all of the references to Springlocks in this game, it talks about the upgraded designs, but then in one of Fiona's Mrs. Helpfuls, it says like, oh, like he spilled soda on his hand and it clamped shut. So it's like, oh, so those are the old school designs, or feel like very reminiscent of the old school designs. So it seems like he made them, but then it may have been in collaboration, and maybe we just don't have all the information right now. And I think that's been a big thing in recent FNAF, whereas like old school FNAF, again, especially very, very early FNAF, because we didn't know if there were going to be sequels, or we didn't know if Scott didn't know if the franchise was going to go on. There was that sense of all the information has to be self-contained to a degree, and then it can evolve from there. Whereas this, it's like, we're almost guaranteed to get DLC for this game. And so therefore, we don't have to give the whole thing away. We can clarify that later. Which is exactly what people got a bit frustrated about with this game, in the sense of like, here's this big reveal about Edwin did it all, and totally removes like Henry and Afton from a lot of, or potentially removes Henry and Afton from a lot of the equation. And so your entire like, but there was no way of predicting that outside of, again, a few hints in the books, or like the odd thing in Security Breach. Maybe you could have put that together, but it would have been like, you know, a really like off the wall theory at the time. And so it's just an interesting development with that. But like, let's stick with that. Let's stick with, what do we think Henry and William actually, like, did Edwin invent all the Springlocks? Because again, I've kind of just given my opinion on kind of where we've landed, but I'd love to know, like, what do we think Henry did? What was his involvement? What was Edwin, and kind of the brain?
So wouldn't it be funny if the DLC just okay, granted, the DLC for it might take some time. Sorry.
Breakdown of these characters, now that it's all been thrown into question, where are we all sort of landing on that?
I got thoughts.
All right, so
we both
I
jumped
released
that
a
out.
video on this topic last week, so I have a lot of thoughts on.
Awesome.
Sure.
Yeah, ID, go for it, please.
One thing that's really interesting. All over MCM, you can find these blueprints for different costumes and some animatronics and stuff. And most of them have Murray's Costume Manor branding on them. However, one that doesn't is for a less fancy version of the Captain Springlock suit. And it has some signature that you can't make out. And there's this little object thing on there that I think could be the crank that's mentioned in FNAF 3 as being used to fix up the Springlock suits. And the fact that it doesn't have MCM branding on it makes me think that that could be something Henry made and then shared with Edwin to say, hey, here's how you make a Springlock suit. Can you make these for us?
Yeah.
And so it was sort of like, and we know that Edwin and Henry were friends, at least at first, until, you know, Fazbear screwed over the company. And so I could see it being and like there are some things where like there's like the bottom half of a Springlock suit in Edwin's closet. I think that Edwin and Henry worked closely together and they shared resources. Edwin says something about how, like, why don't we just have teens wear the costumes like we always do, when Henry comes back and is like, hey, we're going to be moving away from Springlock designs. So I think that, like, I think Henry probably came up with the initial concept and ideas, and then he and Edwin worked together on them. And then when Edwin was making them, Fiona's like, hey, one of these things almost took off one of our costumers' hands. Can we get that fixed? And then Edwin was like, okay, let's make a better version. And so I think that's how that evolution of the Springlock suits happened. I've done a lot of thinking into how things could work to where I don't like the idea that, oh, we're retconning things for the heck of it. Like, yes. I like to believe that we've been told that Henry made the animatronics. So I think Henry made them. And one thing that I talk about in my more recent video on the terms of the classics, we learn a secret of the Mimic that presumably Edwin and Fiona were behind the classic designs and the Endo 01s, but that doesn't account for the Endo 02 and Wither designs. I think those were made by Henry, and another interesting thing I noticed is in the Into the Pit game and in the FNAF 2 movie trailer, there's Endo 02s in the classic animatronics. Not necessarily the animatronics themselves, but in the FNAF 2 movie trailer, there's the model.
Wow, she actually paid attention to different sources of FNAF. Much respect.
Chica with the Endo 02 hand.
I do
and then
remember
there's also
that.
Logbook Chica, which looks to have the Endo 02 model right there.
I like to forget about Logbook Chica.
Yeah, Logbook Chica was
the Endo 02s and Wither designs.
Yeah.
And then had to, like, sort of refurbish the classics because they were just prototypes and not finished, and put the classic designs on the Endo 02 models. Both got haunted, and that's why the Withered animatronics in FNAF 2 are haunted, because they have the Endo 02s, and the classic animatronics are haunted in FNAF 1 because they have the haunted casings.
Wow.
There we go.
no, it's true. I do remember.
Good job. Thank you.
Remember seeing the Endo 02s in the Into the Pit game and going, why are they here? That feels weird. But so that makes a lot of sense. And I didn't know about that blueprint for the captain design. That is interesting. But Rye, you had thoughts as well.
I think I came up. I like my idea that so I do see that point, and I think that's a completely valid take. I think my take is similar, but a bit different in the sense that a lot of people in the community have been thinking and theorizing for a long time that Henry merged with William to form Fazbear Entertainment. There was this merging that happened early on. There was, especially with the weirdness around Chica and the mediocre melodies and all this weirdness. Yeah. I think that's still true. I think Henry was part of MCM because we get that note in the executive, the office you get the executive access. We get that note from William sending to a mystery employee, hey, I still need that staff contact list. How would you like to manage one of our branches? It's like very like shake hand deal thing. And my thinking is that if it's in that mailbox, which is in the executive office, then whoever received that, and if they had the staff contact, then it makes sense for that person to be an executive. And we have two known executives, which is Edwin and Fiona. And I don't think either of them made that deal, which tells me there must have been at least one other executive. And then we look at what has Edwin himself made in Murray's Costume Manor that's successful. There's the Cleanovac.
Yep.
So I don't know if he's realistically, I don't know if he's this genius inventor. So I think it makes a lot more sense if Edwin is this ideas guy who had a couple small things that kind of worked, and he was thrust into a CEO position, and he needs someone who's good at inventing so that he can be like, here's my invention. What do you think, Hen? So I think there's this like at least three of the executives where we have Fiona who's coming up with character ideas, Edwin who's this like invention idea, and Henry who's the guy making the actual things. And then that's part of the idea of like the thing that everyone's been saying for a long time, that Henry merged into Fazbear, and that's when the animatronics really kick up. Maybe Henry was one of the first poached employees by William Afton in this whole stealing. And then that's when Henry joins Fazbear. That's when a lot of this joins over. Now, there is one issue with this idea, and there's one email that makes it seem like Henry was already involved with Fredbear's Family Diner before the events of the game. If that's true, could be out the window, or it could be just a matter of, we know for a fact that Murray's Costume Manor and Fazbear Entertainment had been talking for a long time, because even, Edwin's dad was like, don't trust these guys. So like there has been communication between these companies before. And then the whole, I got the design from Hen. Typically, if this was a commission thing, if like they were doing the Fazbear commission, if Henry's building everything, then that also sets up the direct communication between William and Henry, where it's like, okay, well, my guy who builds things is going to build this for you. Here's his contact information. Send him the stuff to build for you. And then they start talking, and Henry gets a weird design notice and is like, hey, Edwin, this is what they want me to make. That's kind of establishing where that contact begins and when the poaching can start.
Yeah.
So are you thinking that Henry wasn't...
That might be possible. Because in real life, that's practically how things work. I know of a guy. Hey, I know of a guy too.
Involved with Fredbear's?
I'm thinking that Fredbear's, since the whole point of Fredbear's was that they had those Springlock suits, I'm thinking Fredbear's was the first partnership between Murray's Costume Manor and Fazbear Entertainment.
But you don't think Henry was part of Fazbear Entertainment at the time?
I think he joined a little bit after. At least that Fazbear.
Because I'd be with you on there.
Family Diner. Yeah.
I feel like Henry would have to have moved over to Fredbear's Family Diner in order to do that.
Well, we know it's ongoing
William,
at the same
based on the
time.
other stuff established. And like, but if he, I'm just wondering how the poaching would work in that context.
I think it's a matter of, it's a bit of a sloppy timeline of when the poaching starts and how long both companies are going on for as the poaching is going on. Because like we know Fredbear's, at least we're fairly certain Fredbear's existed after 1979, right? Which is when the game is taking place.
Yeah.
So how much of that, especially considering the idea of, don't you want to manage one of our branches? That could have been the first Fredbear's with the Springlocks, because we know, we have the glitch trap suit. So it's like, is this a creation fully of, whatever is scanned into Help Wanted, or was the original Fredbear's just felt suits? And the one that co-opens with Henry as the manager is the first Springlock Fredbear's. Was this a franchise?
Yeah.
Because it does seem like this game is establishing Fazbear Entertainment as a company was a lot bigger than we thought initially.
Early on, yeah.
Yeah, because I always was of the opinion that Fredbear's was like this startup they did, and then they opened Fazbear's. But very clearly, Fazbear's Entertainment existed to the point where Edwin Sr. dealt with them.
Yeah, that was something we pointed out. We looked at that was interesting. The fact that he, because he says, Edwin says, my dad, dad warned me about this.
Dad
so
was
it's
right.
Dad was right. So it's like, he has to know. I think, but you also bring up something very interesting, Rye, which is the dichotomy, because you're kind of, again, your idea is that Henry is responsible for making some of these machines, right? And that Edwin is the ideas guy. But it kind of putting some of that aside, it's an interesting dichotomy that the game presents about Edwin, about him being this genius inventor who is rushing stuff and getting a lot of stuff wrong, and stuff is breaking and not having a load of success, but at the same time pleasing Fazbear enough to keep having work coming in despite all these failures. And so it does feel like there's something about even though Edwin was failing on kind of a lot of other fronts, he was clearly good enough at something that Fazbear were like, yes, this guy, we're gonna go with him.
I think it's the original Murray's business, which was making suits.
Yeah,
he's fine at making suits. Fiona has great designs. He's good at doing that. It's these inventions that he's like, this will be the new direction of the company. Cut to the company 3 years later. I think
it did really good right off the bat, and then you look at all the return orders, and it's like, by the way, sir,
exactly.
Your invention, realize my dog.
Yeah. No, it's again, and this is the joy, is there are so many ways we can look at this right now, which I think is fascinating. And because the other thing that just popped into my brain when you were just talking about when you were talking about the designs of the Wizards versus the classics, and like because we've talked about it, and Rye, you also talked about the merging stuff, and we in the past have attributed it like, oh, well, you look at the mediocre melodies, who we now know were made by, or at least that company was made by what, Stan? And one of the other disgruntled employees who left is like, hey, we're going to take this, we know about the restaurant concept, we're going to make our own thing with these mediocre melodies. And so that's, but we've always attributed that design of like the hinge, either the hinge jaw or the up-down jaw to Henry because of the mediocre melodies in FNAF 6. And the Wizards share that design versus the classics who don't. And so the difference between Fiona's designs, Henry's designs, but the weird thing that then popped into my brain is that is also the design of the new Fredbear and Spring Bonnie that we see in R&D. They have that up and down design, which makes me also wonder whether that is the golden Fredbear design that kills David Afton.
No. Maybe, but no. I mean, true is still maybe, I guess.
Because if you think of the pixel art,
hey, this looks kind of similar to the FNAF 4 one.
It's the up-down jaw rather than like the golden Freddy we see hunched over in a corner in the original games. And so that was just a thought that came to mind. But again, it's just there's so many things that you can take out.
It's like, where does the influence of Edwin on Henry and vice versa end and begin? Because it seems like they work together, so I can see like some of their design philosophies merging with each other.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's the thing. And so a thing that we've looked at and gone, well, this is a Henry design because of XYZ. You go, it kind of could be anybody, like if they've been influenced, which is fun.
There's so many weird design things that line up that make me scared. One of the ones that got shared on Twitter soon after the game came out, the base of Mr. and Mrs. Helpful that attaches to the talking machines, that midsection looks incredibly similar to the midsection of the Mexis entity right before it digitizes. Yep. And that makes me uncomfortable.
I mean, it does make some amount of sense.
Yeah,
I mean, he made them both technically, if that's the entity that carried over. But why is it a rabbit?
Yeah, well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about mixes. Let's talk about mexes and Fiona and all of this.
Sure.
Like,
Why not?
like, sure. Like, HyperDroid. What are your thoughts on that? On the whole mixes, Fiona, literally anything.
Okay, so if you're talking about mixers, right? Okay, I want to listen to what they're saying.
Yeah, I think Fiona is just Mexis. I think like because in what am I thinking of? There's this one scene in Ruin where Mexis gets stuck or like trapped or whatever. There's this orange pixels that kind of come from the bottom and the top, almost like fire engulfing, which with Fiona's story in this game with the full fest, it seems like it's kind of representing Fiona being burned, maybe. So that's why I think the game was telling us that Fiona is Mexis. And with the Help Wanted 2 update, having us take the Mexis machine from what represents Murray's Costume Manor away from Murray's Costume Manor, it makes me think that maybe in a DLC we'll see us take Fiona, the Mexis machine, and I don't know, maybe Vanessa, Gregory, whatever, put the Mexis branding on it. Because it is currently F1... What is it? F1,
F10,
F10 and 4.
Something.
Yeah.
So something happened between them. I'm not too sure about the in-between part, but I do think Fiona's meant to be Mexis.
Yeah, I will say, because it's something that I noticed, Dorko, I want to hear your thoughts, absolutely. It was just something, just on the Mixes branding, it's something I kind of had to glaze over because it ruined something when I noticed it. But it was because in Help Wanted 2, when it's taken away, it is branded Mexes. In the back of the van.
Yeah.
Which is then like
put in the Fiona code name as well.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like
6 whatever it is.
4625. And so it's then like, when did it become Mexes? When did they change it? Or again, is that just
maybe on the back of the machine it says Mexes?
But that's the thing. And so it's like, is it just a FNAF redesign thing where they just go, we're just going to change, like Springtrap, we're just going to change the design slightly to up, like because it makes more sense for this story. Who knows?
Remember that
Springtrap has reasons for why it looks different. Is the issue there?
No, sure, I understand that, but like, yeah. Sorry,
You
HyperDroid,
remember
please.
that the Mari's Costume Mana in the Help Wanted 2 update, that's not the actual Mari's Costume Mana.
Yeah.
That's the
This is true.
prototype, whatever version that Edwin
Yeah.
was coming up with. It's
True.
possible that
Yep.
that's not actually what Mexus looks like. That's just telling us, the audience, that the machine was taken and becomes Mexus.
Yeah. Dorko, what were your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I found that weird actually. That you know, when we go into Edwin's office and you see the prototype of the Murray's Costume Mana, it's interesting why Steelwool would put that there. Like, was that how it was originally before it turned into a factory, or is that what it was going to be turned into in the future? And then that would explain why someone goes there and takes MXES and it's already changed to that machine because it's set in the future. I don't know. Maybe they just decided to, after doing the Help Wanted 2 update, they decided to change the machine name to Fiona, and then obviously there's going to be a reason why it gets changed in the future, and it was just a mistake that they did, because originally they were just going to call it MXES throughout
finish the
Secret
model,
of the
maybe.
Mimic.
Yeah.
All that, yeah. But yeah, I do think we're going to get a DLC or something, and somebody's going to be taking that machine and, you know, change it to keep the Mimic in the underneath the security breach. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know though. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, no, it's true. And again, like, and this is the thing. There's a lot of, as I keep saying, but there's a lot of different ways it could go.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
is it just a design change? Is it just this was how we originally envisioned Mexes and Murray's Costume Mana, and then we changed it when we got to the actual game? Or is it a lore reason of, oh, actually, they decided to rebuild it after the big fire at the end of the parachute ending, and they made it as the new version? Or was that the original version? Was that the version that Murray's Costume Mana was known as when it just did costumes under Murray Senior? Like, and then they've that's like the little diagram of like, oh, this is where we came from. Like, who knows? Like, at this point.
The thing is, right, when we what's the thing that Arthur has, the attachment to his like thing that he puts into the
data diver
computers?
The data diver?
Yeah, the data diver. You know, we install the MXDS programming into that computer before the ending, right? So it could be something like, you know, we know that the Mimic takes that and then goes away. If the parachute ending's the canon ending, he just take that, or it will be found in the future by somebody. So maybe somebody finds that, Vanessa Gregory finds the data of MXES still in the data diver, and that gives them the blueprints on how to make a new MXES machine or something like that, you know?
Weren't the blueprints for the Mimic?
No,
the schematics are held
They were
within
also the
Mimic.
Mexus thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it says there's a file on the computer that literally says MXES before we install it into the data diver.
Yeah, I remember that, but I didn't remember there being like downloading a file onto. I thought it was just activating. I'm just confused. Sorry.
Well, I think specifically, and this kind of gets into my thoughts on it, that there's
So many conversations just da 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 da, and I'm like,
two, because on the window it says experimental storage, and then on the bottom it says Mimic blueprints.
Yeah, so
Because
Dorko,
we
go.
installed
No,
the
doesn't
Mimic
it say
blueprint
Cradle?
in it too.
That's the
Dorko,
second one.
guys.
chill, relax.
Dorko, please. Okay.
Guys.
Dorko, say your piece, please.
What?
Sorry,
It's actually a very nice way of saying chill, relax, control. Guys, say your piece. Say your piece. It's nice.
I was just trying to understand what's going
No,
on
no.
because I missed that.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, we definitely install it into the data diver because we install the Mimic. We install the Mimic blueprints, because that's what Fazbear Entertainment want. But on the we go and we install the MXES as well, right? I'm sure we do. We install it into the data
I
diver.
thought that was just activating it.
Probably I know the text is run cradle.exe, but I mean that it could go either way. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even if I
what
guess,
I'm
I mean,
thinking.
even I guess we could
But
run
even
it,
then,
but
like,
I
what
guess
is
we could
even
still
is Cradle.exe?
install it. You know, I don't even know.
Maybe it
Well-
installed as it ran. Maybe we'll find out eventually.
I'm
Perhaps.
sure. No, exactly. And this is what we were talking about, right? The kind of vagueness of like, what is the data diver doing? Like, what is the computer doing? What is it like? Oh, yeah, we just use the data. Are we just using the data diver to access the computer to run it, or are we activating it? John, is that a hand raised?
That's a hand raise.
Go, John, please.
I don't want to interrupt anyone.
No, of course.
So as far as like
It's nice, thank you.
the Help Wanted to update where there's the facade of Murray's Costume Manor, I
Yeah.
noticed while playing through the game for the 500th time that if you go up to Edwin's office in Secret of the Mimic, there's a big round window. And it's just like the round window in the facade we see in Help Wanted 2. And in the front doors in the retail showroom look kind of like the front doors of the facade that was in Help Wanted 2. It's like the whole inside is similar in style to what the facade was in Help Wanted 2. Yeah. So I don't know, but also second piece I'd like to say is there isn't it say experimental storage number 2 at one point. Like there's 2 mixes.
Correct.
So it's possible that F10N4 is just one of 2, or it's possible that Fiona openly says, there's like blueprints for the mixes machine.
Yeah.
So someone could have in the modern day made another
Rebuilt
to
it.
trap the Mimic down in ruin. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
my 2 cents.
I mean, it's worthwhile that the one you're talking about, the one that isn't, that likely isn't Fiona, we're not sure exactly which one is which. That's the one we get the Mimic schematics on, right? The whole idea that this thing contains a Mimic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh.
Yep.
So.
But yeah, the facade thing is really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea.
No idea.
Yeah, it's
Let alone the fact that there's a blue rabbit and a yellow bear on it. What are we doing? Like,
Oh yeah.
I assume
Yeah.
Freddy's
Terrifying.
characters existed previously on like, because I assume they're not starting off the Freddy Fazbear franchise with characters that never existed at all. And in the Fredbear and Friends TV show we see in FNAF 4, we do see the other characters.
Yeah. It's
So
a
my
weird.
thought is they're sort of like, they had the characters and then they're like, hey,
Yeah.
for this restaurant chain that we're going to be starting up, let's use these characters that we included in
Yeah.
the original show and turn
Right.
them into the animatronics and stuff. They're going to be there.
Yeah. It's just the weird like evolution of stuff. Like so like down in R&D, you've got Spring Bonnie, Fredbear, but then on like as you say on the facade on the windows and stuff, you've got Fredbear and Blue Bonnie. And there's this weird switching out of like, when is it Blue Bonnie? And like, but then in Moon.exe, it doesn't specify if it's a gold bear or not. It's just a bear with a bow tie, I believe. And then, but then it's the yellow rabbit specifically in the masks, which again I know is going to trigger Rye. But but it's that weird like,
RyeToast.
again like the swapping out of Bonnie in different places is weird. And just like, when is it normal Bonnie? When is it Blue Bonnie? And when is it Spring Bonnie? Is a weird, again, another weird detail that I'm still trying to wrap my head around going, because you're right, there will be characters that have existed for longer because of the show and because of these other things. It wasn't like they started with no characters when they were designing the first pizzeria.
True, and it will give a whole lot of different meaning to the iconic I always come back. Granted, it was a different character and different situation, different. It's just a joke. Sorry.
But who was first and why?
It's like with Fredbear though. It's confusing because Fredbear in the posters is also like kind of brownish, not really yellowish.
And called Freddy in that one.
70s Freddy. So what's going on? Is it Fredbear, Freddy, Fredbear? Like, is it a nickname thing? What is it?
And then there's clearly
Fredbear,
two
mitosis into Freddy and Fredbear.
it's true. It's the original FNAF 1 description. It's Freddy Bear. We finally got there. We're back.
We're back to Freddy Bear. There we are. Oh,
not to mention the storybook with the original 4 plus an alligator and a dog. If we want to
right,
talk about
yeah,
that.
what is it? Oh, yeah, please. Let's talk about Monty existing and let's talk about, what was it, Bubsy?
Bub.
Just
right.
Bob.
My
Just
guy Bob.
The cat.
Yeah, that's where I was getting lost, Bubsy the cat. When I'm like, okay, is this just a Sparky reference? This has to just be a Sparky reference,
I
surely.
feel like that's what it's gotta be.
But it's a
could be a
lot
fetch
for
reference,
just a
too.
reference. It's a whole Springlock
Yeah.
suit.
Yeah, right.
That could actually explain the fetch on the arcade machines in Security Breach. It could be based on
Yeah.
Bub. It might not be
Yeah.
fetch at
Bub
all.
evolved into fetch.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
a character design. Yeah, because that's
I mean,
the
I
thing.
guess
It's like
it's more. No, go on.
no, please you.
I was just gonna say it's more kind of inklings that like how much of the mimic was used in the creation of the Pizzaplex and its characters, right? Is it a matter of not necessarily these characters have been around for a long time, but if they were using the mimic to creatively help build, like they do in the books, then maybe it was in my databank. I have a character that you can use, Montgomery Gator. You know,
Yeah. No,
but
exactly.
is that all? I don't know. It's weird.
I can't remember. I think it was Ash pointed it out while we were streaming. It is interesting that in the original diner design in R&D, you've got the 4 animatronics up front and 2 side stages, one of which is then Monty. But you're running away from a mimic that is an amalgamation of things, but the primary head is a Bonnie head. And whether that's like the OG, like again, if the mimic's programming is coming in and affecting the animatronics, whether that's like the OG like feud between Bonnie and Monty, and why Monty is so vehemently against Bonnie for some reason, because it's just a character that existed and then never came back, and it's all because of what happened there. But yeah, no, Monty's inclusion early like is interesting. But it's weird
And
at the same
Roxy.
time. Oh, and
and Roxy, yeah.
And Roxy.
oh, and Roxy, my girl
I
Roxy.
think it's really interesting how by Security Breach, like we're bringing back some of the old characters, and underneath in the Pizzeria Simulator location where like the mimic is, there's old stuff from Murray's Costume Manor just lying around. So like Fazbear's just digging everything up out of storage and being like, yes, this character looks neat, throw him on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they did that because of all of the bad events that happened with the, Freddy Fazbear Company and all the murders and stuff. I feel like they brought back old characters from the database because of the past history of what happened there.
Yeah.
Trying to steal from it.
Yeah, part of the rebrand.
Yeah.
To make
Yeah,
they
the
made
rebrand.
the,
Yeah.
They made the games to kind of shift everything over, and then we're like, right, let's bring back a bunch of characters from like potentially 50 years ago or however many years it is to go.
Yeah.
No one will remember Roxy from Edwin's Murray's Costume Manor. Let's
Yeah.
That does kind of even line up some more, because the 2 classic characters they keep for the Pizzaplex is Freddy and Chica. Obviously, you have to keep Freddy. Chica isn't even a Fazbear original. So they kept as little Fazbear as possible for that main 4.
outside of primary identity.
Yeah.
I think
because like
Chica
obviously you
technically
need
could have
Freddy.
been a Fazbear original, like part of Fazbear Entertainment. Maybe Chica's Party World was an offshoot, like Fredbear's Family Diner was.
Yeah,
Fair. Yeah, we don't know for
subsidiary or
certain.
something.
Fair.
That front.
Yeah.
But either way,
Yeah.
it was still something that was designed at Murray's Costume Manor.
Yeah, and not and not originally designed for specifically Freddy's. Yeah. So that it is interesting. Yeah. That was a moment. Seeing Chica show up on rollerblades.
Oh yeah.
My favorite model from the game. She's so cute. I love her.
Yeah.
Oh, see, Rye loves Edwin's designs versus Fiona's.
I love
confirmed.
Fiona's designs, I'll have you know. Don't step on a woman's coattails.
Oh
All right,
no,
first of all.
absolutely not. But it is specifically pointed out in the game of like, hey, Fiona's design's really cute. What the hell did you do to it, Edwin?
Once again, Edwin, not very good.
No, exactly. Even at the
I mean, if it's cute, we all know what's going on. Just saying.
He's trying his best, man. He's trying his best. Well, and again, like, this is great because I have like some questions in mind, but we keep kind of accidentally stumbling onto them, which is the stuff underneath Security Breach, underneath Ruin. We've kind of like, you kind of bring up the old costumes, like the crow and the elephant and those sorts of things. So, do we think it is actually built on top of MCM, or do we think this is like a warehouse they transferred them to years ago? Like, there's a lot of similarities, like the claw, the like the scoop. We keep calling it the scoop, but it's definitely not the scoop from like FNAF 6. But like we keep calling it that because it's the easiest thing to call it. There's that. You've got like the wooden boxes, the decor. Do we think they're the same? Do we think it's something else? Do we think like, and how do we think this ties into like the endings of Secret of the Mimic?
Fazburger, rise up. Fazburger truthers here. That everything
Fazburger.
just keeps getting
Hell
built
yeah.
on top of each other.
Everything is.
I
That's kind of
mean,
what I'm
I
going
think
with, is like,
I think
okay.
MCM probably burns down, and
I
that's
mean, it might work, but on the architecture, okay, on the architectural level, it's not recommended. No.
plot of land that they can use in the meantime. But I do think
Yeah.
R&D. I think R&D is and now this is maybe a hot take. I don't know. I feel like it's. I think it's clear, but I think R&D is reused by Henry to create FNAF 6. I think there's a lot of evidence to suggest that. And then that explains why the basement kind of looks like FNAF 6 and kind of looks like R&D. Not to
And I
mention it's
believe in
connected
Ruin
to
there
sister
was
location
stuff in
and so
the
on and so
files where
forth.
there was-
sorry, ID, what
and
was
I
that?
believe in Ruin there was stuff in the files for there was going to be like a secret pizzeria area that was supposed to tease Carnival the next game.
Yeah.
So I think that it was originally going to be well, not the next game, but like Secret of the Mimic. So I do think it is a case where like that could have been originally what they were planning to do, and then when Secret of the Mimic came out and there was the R&D section with all of the Freddy's animatronics like under MCM, that would have been a way to be like, hey, this is the same place. And the fact that they left that in there in the Ruin files, and this is after the security breach stuff where they, at least I think it was Ruin, they left in the files
Yeah, it
after the
was
security
Ruin,
breach stuff where they're like, oh shoot, we shouldn't have left the name Cassidy on the princess, right? I think some of that might have been intentional, be like, hey, keep this in mind.
Yeah. No, it's true.
Because in that cut ending you're talking about, there were models for Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica. So it's like that is R&D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's the files thing is fascinating. Steel will definitely clean up their act to make it harder. Make it harder for us to try and piece stuff together. It's true. But John, I'd love your thoughts on kind of the endings and kind of how, like, what you think about like MCM and like whether you think we're like where the endings go to get us to kind of what we know.
I think the big Freddy head that we see at the end of in R&D was they were really trying to connect that area to what we see under the Pizzaplex. Even though the head under the Pizzaplex is a Glamrock Freddy head and not a FNAF 1 Freddy head. I don't know why that's the case, but I think Riley might actually be right about Henry using that FNAF 6 that pizzeria to make FNAF 6. It's been a theory in the community for a long time. There's even merch. I believe Cloak came out with merch where it literally shows the Pizzaplex built on top of a bunch of other stuff. It's been a theory talked about for a long time. Like sister location is also down there.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think they were really trying to make the connection. Although there may be some problems with it. I really do think they were trying to connect Pizzaplex built on top of MCM.
You want the hot take? You want the spicy Fazburger?
Oh no.
In between it being R&D and FNAF 6, in between there, it's FNAF 4 testing chambers, Didophobia games.
Oh! No, you did not just drop that bomb. Brother.
People don't like that one, but it's connected to sister location if the bunker underneath MCM turns into it.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing with you there. I have noticed
and it's a
that, like,
series
I don't know
of
if
chambers.
I think it's the testing.
Alright. Less than 1 hour into the video, we have cleared more than 50% of the video. Let's take a quick break, shall we? Let's take a quick break. Sorry. I'm back. Showered. Oh, sorry, showered. Toilet, brush teeth, so on and so forth. Let's continue.
Yeah, like, I don't even disagree with you. Like, I noticed when I was looking at, like, the sort of layout and stuff, I think it's really interesting. You've got a house on a hill, and nearby you've got a building,
Yep.
and there's a whole bunch of tunnels underneath.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that, like,
Yeah.
I think the FNAF 4 location lines up decently well with where MCM is located. And in between 79 and 83, when FNAF 4 takes place, they could have put something there.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
And then
I
they
mean,
recreated it underground to do experiments on hallucination gas. Yeah, I agree.
As you do.
Dorka, you had some
I
thoughts
agree.
there.
I think the parachute is canon, and the whole factory burns down, and the house gets damaged or something. Maybe it doesn't fully collapse. William Afton just walks in like, "Hey, I'm going to take his house. I'm going to rebuild it. This is my house now. This is my mansion." And he reuses the tunnels for such a location, his underground testing facility. And then maybe where the factory was, he builds a Fredbear's location or something. You know, I feel like that's what Steelwool are trying to show, that William Afton has just took everything from Edwin. And it makes sense because, you know, the letters he was sending to try and the fact that he said to Edwin, like, "Oh, don't worry, we won't do anything with your parents' house. Like, we're not going to do anything with that." Like, I feel like that was.
But I mean, if it burns down,
Foreshadowing.
might as well do something with it, right?
It's foreshadowing that William's going to take everything.
Yeah.
To me.
And
True. Foreshadowing.
how far do you want to take it? Do you want to, like, we see the house on the hill, Afton's house on the hill in Curse of Dreadbear DLC. And the Fall Fest is right where MCM was
being held there.
You could also take it, Midnight Motorist. There's an empty plot of land with a pile of dirt.
How far do you want to take it? There's a lake in front of both of them.
There is. Yeah.
Where do you want to take it? There's a lake.
Have we just solved Midnight
Well, not in Midnight Motorist, but in the in outside of MCM, outside of in Curse of Dreadbear, there's that big lake. And I've been saying that place is the pier on the lake. Because Mike's OMC, but we're not going to talk about that right now.
I have actually been thinking with Midnight Motorist, though, the place is called Juniors, which, like, some people are like, "Oh, that's a bar."
Yeah.
But I think that's probably some sort of Fazbear location that's Juniors because it came after something.
Yeah. I mean, again, that's been
That's
something that was
And Freddy's did serve beer, so them having a bouncer isn't entirely out of line.
That's true. Yeah, there you go.
Good old Fazbear.
Good old Fazbear. Yeah, so basically what we're saying is Fazbear only ever owned one plot of land, and they never did anything else anywhere.
Which is there were other locations because it's a franchise, but there's one important plot of land.
I mean, hey,
I mean, to be fair, it's efficiency to the max, I suppose. Just one plot of land, and whatever I'm doing with it, I'm doing it there.
You know, they're cost effective. That's what they're worried about.
Murray
Is profit.
invented recycling.
Cost effective, yes.
Oh my god.
Oh, the fact that Edwin invented recycling broke my
so
brain. It's
I
so
love the little
funny.
fun facts they've been peppering in. Like, Edwin invented recycling. Bears are extinct because they like pizza too much. Like, I love these little fun facts.
Yeah, like I did want to go through and go, right, what other things were invented in the 70s that, based on what we see, we can attribute to Edwin? Like, you know, we joked about how Edwin invented therapy during stream just because there was so much stuff going on. And he's like, look, he's looking for self-healing. He invented therapy. He definitely did. Especially because, like, it's my one, like, going all the way back to conversation we were talking about the voice acting. There was just one take that I was a bit like, that's an interesting way to have presented that, which is when Fiona dies. And he's just like, why were you there? This is really inconvenient for me. And I'm just like, it was the one take I was a bit like, why that take? Why was you've inconvenienced me? My wife's death is annoying. versus, like, again, the rest of it is fantastic, and I do love the relationship between the two characters. It was just the one take that even in the moment I went, that's a weird way to say that.
Yeah.
Maybe he
Oh,
was
God.
just in shock.
Yeah, well, and that's probably
Yeah,
it.
could have been. Yeah.
It's also the idea of like it got brought up a bit, the whole kind of feminist critique angle of it, of M1 replacing a human woman, right? The idea of like the Stepford Wives adjacent storyline that's, whether or not intended, is present. The idea of like this robot that perfectly recreates my wife, and you look at the robot and it's like, hi honey, I exist to cook and clean. Like there's obviously a disconnect there. So I do wonder if that direction, if on purpose, is a sign that far into how deep in the hole Edwin has gone. It's not my wife is gone, the person I married is gone. It's who's gonna watch David now?
Basically. Yeah, no, I think that's probably it. Like, because that's like at least why the whole mimic gets created. It's literally like, oh no, this again. It's almost like this child that I kind of love, but he's kind of an inconvenience to watch. So
He'll
Fiona
have more
take care of
birthdays.
that. Exactly, he'll have more birthdays.
Crazy.
And Edwin has the line of like, I let a robot raise my kid for me. It's like, you didn't realize after the first time you lost a family member that you should spend more time with your family members while you have them.
Turns to the robot he
She
created.
makes a very good point. Like, bro, spend more time with a family member. It's not that hard. Come on. It's what family members do for each other. Please.
You did this. What are we doing, Edwin?
What are we
And then
doing?
he sentenced her to the basement forever.
Yeah. But that again raises a good point. How do we think M1 learnt to be Fiona if Fiona's already dead?
I think it has something to do with there's the so in that area underneath where the white tiger stuff is, there's that room where there's the recording of Edwin hearing something over the radio on a specific signal, and it's a copied line from one of the birthday tapes. And I've heard it suggested that it's a spirit box type thing, but the fact that it's why would the thing is, the way spirit boxes work is it scans radio frequencies in order to get bits and pieces of stuff that's being broadcast over it. Edwin goes to a specific radio frequency, just one, and hears a line that I highly doubt he's broadcasting him being a neglectful dad over the radio.
Yeah.
Fair point.
But we do know that the mimic has the ability to use radio frequencies, and we see that in the books. So I think by that, the way I sort of understand it is, he's probably already been working on mimic-related things, or things that could become the mimic, or maybe he's even already made M1 at that point, because he introduces M1 to David as, hey, this is M1, not, hey, this is your mom. It's like, hey, this is M1, M1's gonna be your babysitter. So M1's around the house, and M1 could have picked up on that, could have gotten because she's around, she would have seen that Edwin and David are missing an important figure in their life, and decided to fill that void, and became Fiona as a way to do that. But she's definitely not a perfect imitation, because, like, Fiona has a very clear personality. She's very nice, but she also, like, when she has something to say, she will say it, and she's like, Edwin, why? Your child is having a birthday. We have guests over. Why are you doing work right now? Fix the spring lock suits. It nearly killed one of my costumers. But meanwhile, M1, she's sort of this.
That's a very good point. Bro need to prioritize his life properly. It's like, come on, family first. Come on, it's not that difficult.
Idealized version of, like, just perfect housewife. And, like, I feel like if it was a case where it was actually Fiona's ghost, she would act more like Fiona, but she acts more like, okay, she is filling the role of wife, and she knows things because she has seen recordings, and so that's how she's able to imitate stuff. So that's the way I've sort of understood it.
I 100% agree with that, especially because the game itself has Edwin himself saying, "You're not her, stop sounding like her." Same with M2 as well, I think.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, "You're not David,
Yeah.
stop sounding like him, stop acting like him." It seems like the game is trying to say, these aren't the actual people, these are the mimic mimicking those people because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, and because M2 was made from a copy of M1's program, it would presumably have all of the data M1 had of how David acted, because M1 was there to see David grow up because she raised him. So I think that would, and that's actually, we talked about it before, there are those notes that seem to reference the books. I think that's actually what's going on there. The memory, I have it pulled up. The memory or error thing says, we were expecting, there were complications, consciousness was lost for an undetermined time. Once I woke, we were all together and happy, a family, but something was different. I felt wrong somehow. Was I me? I would never sleep again. And I think that's sort of the copy of M1 that was M2. M1 was around because, because she was presumably sentenced to the mixes machine when Edwin tried to start over with M2. And that's why M2's body's the same one, in my understanding. And this memory error report would be M1 shifting, like the M1 copy shifting to become David because M1 wanted a son. M1 wanted her son back. And so this was like, hey, the family's all together, but I felt wrong. Was I me anymore? Like, was I me? So I think that the way that worked is, it's not a reference to the books, where yes, Fiona did die in childbirth. It might be a bit of a reference to that. But M1 was expecting Edwin to recreate David after he died. There were complications, he wasn't able to do it. Then he took her out because he didn't want to deal with his fake wife anymore. And then M2 wakes up with the copy of M1 and now feels different.
That's a
The
great
note being
idea.
into is
I
pretty
actually
interesting.
really like that.
So
I really like that idea.
I love everyone.
Well, if you put it that way, it's complicated because you are talking about humans and robots. I don't know much about it. If you are talking about humans to humans, maybe I can share some of my thoughts. But I don't know about this. I'm so sorry. It's AI and humans. So sorry.
Everyone's cogs are turning right now, going, huh? John,
this
please.
topic of how Fiona started mimicking, or M1 started mimicking Fiona, was the topic of my one theory I have on Secret of the Mimic. There's more coming, but there's only one. I really think it was the mycelium men and the inventions, because they were scattered all throughout the house. They're scattered all throughout the facility. They were listening to everything. And we learn that they were the first thing that Edwin made after he took over the company from his dad, those inventions. And in the commercials, you can see that the Mimic program is already inside of them. Like in the commercials, there's also a bunch of spirals, like the Mimic's eyes. And basically, my whole theory was that the mycelium men were always listening. And when Edwin said, how am I going to raise a kid on my own? They did something about it and started mimicking Fiona. And that doesn't mean that there's not a like fourth closet type, like Edwin beat up the Mimic and poured his agony into the Mimic and there's agony in it. Doesn't mean that can't happen. But I don't think Mimic's Fiona's spirit is possessing the Mimic. I think it was the M0, I call it. That was in those original inventions. I call it.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah,
I struggled to explain that well.
No,
sorry,
you're all good.
You explained it fine.
No, I like
think-
that. That's a
Right, please.
Oh,
Yeah,
was
I think
gonna
you
say,
have a
at
different
first
opinion,
I was
Riley.
at first I was all on board with possession, and
Yeah.
my main issue, the main reason I keep going back to it, is there's the one line we get from Edwin when he's struggling to make M2, and he's like, I can't figure this out. I don't even know why M1 worked, but I can't get it to work again. You know, and my thinking was that the secret spice? Was that the sauce that the dish was missing to make it not necessarily more accurate, but actually latch on to someone, versus how we see M2, which is kind of everybody. I don't know if I am in favor of the possession angle there. I think if anything, it would be more, if there is some kind of possession going on, I think it would be more of like a loose energizing
Motion
possession, like we see
situation.
in the Silver Eyes, where it's like, sure, they are animating these animatronics, but it's more of a matter of powering it in a sense, or the idea that the books say with agony, you know, you can attach agony to even an artificial intelligence and make something out of it. But that kind of goes into the idea of like M2 specifically, if there was a possession with, say, Fiona or something like that. When we get to M2, Fiona, you know, if M1 is taken out, if there is any sort of possession, it wouldn't follow M1. You know, we get the idea of that, like, spirit seems to be attached to metal in that sense. So maybe that's part of the reason why M2 is so nearly indestructible, is that it has this energy flowing through its endoskeleton, whether or not it's necessarily piloting it.
Yeah. No,
I
it's
don't
interesting,
think that it's a spirit doing it, but we do know that emotions and memories can can still haunt metal. So I think there could still be remnant involved with M2, even if no spirits are actually involved. Where like David and Edwin's grieving over Fiona, and then the grief over David. Those emotions haunted the mimic, and that's why it is the way it is.
I could see that.
It is,
especially a robot as a caretaker. There's a lot of weird emotions going on.
Yeah.
And then like we like in the Silver Eyes trilogy, Henry's emotions haunt a doll, and then the doll is moved from body to body, and that's how Charlie's.
Yeah, it's true.
And if we want to get into it, what did William do with the largest iteration of that creation? Take it and make it his own.
Yeah, it is. It is an interesting idea as well, because so much of when we've done like our Ultimate timeline in the past, and just timelines in general, in the old franchise, it was that discussion of how and when did like William learn possession was a thing, and like did he know when he said I'll put you back together? Was it after that? Was it when Baby killed Elizabeth? Like at what point did he learn that something special was going on? And it does seem to, for lack of a better term, mimic that moment from where it's going. I don't know how it worked. Like it's the same. It's this genius creator who doesn't understand how the thing works, but he just sees that something is different, something is happening. And it could be a spirit. It could be that Edwin, again, we also know is just not the greatest of creators, and so he's just like, I did something right, and I don't know how.
It could just be an explanation of why M2 was a copy, because he did it right once. Copy it again.
Just make a copy of it, stick it back in the body, call it a day.
Yeah.
Exactly. So there's a lot of different, like, it's that interesting parallel to like William and stuff, and again that idea of making it his own and like just imitating. It was part of what like part of today's theory was for us, which was that idea of the story repeating itself a lot, where you have these moments of Edwin like, oh, I don't understand how this thing worked, and then Afton suddenly goes, oh, possession is a thing, I don't understand how this is happening, so I'm going to kill kids and experiment. Like there's a bunch of other, as you do, you know, that's the natural conclusion. But it's just that sense of how do you like these stories replicating themselves over and over again. I know there is a theory in the community right now, I forget what the name of it is. Rye, I'm sure you're God David, where it's just like, yeah, history is like David's like story is like due to repeat over and over again, and that's God David.
Child and Gregory,
I don't take it in quite as literal of a sense, but it does seem like
there's something connecting them.
Those who don't learn from the mistakes of the past are doomed to repeat it.
Yeah, which was
yes, those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it.
Which was literally where like the branching path of what today our theory was over on our channel today was that sense of, is it literally history repeating itself, or is it actually a rewrite of history where we're just copying the ideas over and over again? So it seems like a repeat, but actually there's only one set of events that Fazbear is then going, I'm going to put that into the games as our own thing, because I need to rewrite the story. And so that's why the story seems like it, like that. And again, there's a bunch of different ways. I don't really know which way I fall, because there is a lot of really good evidence towards like, oh, the games are just a complete rewrite of the story, but it's also really sucky as an answer for theorizing and future stuff to be able to go, yeah, nothing you theorized about matters. So I hate it from that perspective. And so like God David and this idea of like,
reminds me of back in the days when dream theory was a thing, and people is like, that sucks. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Sorry, maybe I'm wrong.
The repeating of history, it makes a lot of sense. And like you said, ID, like those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. So there's a bunch of stuff like that, which is always fascinating to look at for.
I'm just curious, Dako, do you think Fiona's spirit possesses M1?
Yeah.
I find it interesting why would Steelwall include a room with a tape that shows Edwin trying to communicate with Fiona. I found that a bit like why else would they do that to show something paranormal's going on? Do you know what I mean? Like
especially next to that basement, which is like the most paranormal spot of the game.
Yeah.
Throw us off.
Yeah, maybe throw us off.
That's why I have the idea of it being
I mean,
like emotions haunting, even if it's not an actual spirit. There's something paranormal going on there. I just don't think, like, whether or not it's the spirit or not, there's something going on. It could be the spirit. It could just be the emotions.
I mean, the 4625 number is like a famous frequency in Europe or something. They call it like the ghost radio number or something. But people did more research into it, and it's not actually ghosts speaking on the radio frequency. It was actually humans in like an interfering frequency from Russia of like some army base of talking and actual humans on the other side.
And then it turned out it wasn't.
Right. Are you trying to say that Fiona was in the Russian army?
We solved it. Fazbear is based in Russia. Done.
I solved Fiona from Secret
That's
Limit.
why it's bears. Sorry.
That's why it's bad.
Yeah! No! No! Yeah! No! 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 Fiona is in the Russian army.
I mean, I think whether or not Fiona is possessing it, I think Edwin thinks Fiona is possessing it, no matter what. End of the day, I think whether or not Fiona actually is,
I disagree with that.
I think at least that's what the tape is showing us. That even if Fiona isn't possessing M1, I think that tape is showing us Edwin does think Fiona is possessing M1.
I don't think so.
I disagree because of the "You're Not
Yeah.
Her" tapes and that, which is after.
It is after.
She was possessed, but eventually,
maybe it was over
He's
time.
like, wait a second, this is just a robot that copies people. This isn't real.
Yeah, that's what.
I think he probably thought she was possessed at first because he was trying to do the spirit box type thing, but eventually went, "What am I doing with my life?"
Yeah,
my kid is now also dead. I have not learnt my lesson the first time. Let's now. Maybe now I make a change and beat it up. That will work.
You will think, maybe.
Oh, goodness.
Anyways.
Yeah, right. Anyways, no, it's good. It's all part of the fun discussion. So this is now a random question. To kind of take us away from some of the deeper Mimic stuff. I think Dorko, you did a video on this possibly. Again, I didn't watch it, but based on your title. And I know that a number of people in this call have thoughts or are just scared. What's the deal with Sleepy Moon? Rye runs.
I'm not touching on this one.
Yeah, the idea, I think the idea of like we go down into the basement of basements because the basement, I want to so badly to draw schematics of the map and like go, how deep is this thing? How deep does this actually go every time we look at it? But anyway, but we go down into the basement and we're looking for that final item. I think it's the blocks or it's one of the David toys for
it's his ball.
It's his ball.
It's his ball, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't remember. It was one of his presents. And so we're going down looking for that, and we get chased by the original Moon, the Sleepy Moon character. Why is he down there? Why is he there? And again, I know there's a lot of chatter online about because there's a lot of notes from an employee talking about being stuck down there. Or is it the Mimic? Because we do hear mechanical sounds, but they're different from the Mimics. What do we think? Where does this guy fit into things? And why does why do people seem to portray Edwin as Sleepy Moon in like moon.exe?
Okay, so let's be honest with each other. if architecturally speaking, it just goes down and down and down and down and down and down and down, we can't call it a basement. It's more like a bunker. It's like a doomsday apocalypse bunker instead of a basement.
I think people.
We can talk about the moon.exe.
We'll get to moon.exe, Dorco.
Yeah, I think people are portraying Edwin as Sleepy Moon, because I don't know. Why are you thinking that? I think it's because of like the connections, like what ID said about with moon.exe. People portray the big Sleepy Moon as Edwin, and you know when the accident happened with Edwin and M2. And Edwin breaks his legs or whatever, maybe the mimic throws his body down into the basement and then he possesses the Sleepy Moon's costume. I don't know. I don't think that. I still think Edwin's alive, but we'll talk about that later on.
Oh, yes. No, I want it. We will talk about that for sure.
But the Sleepy Moon is so interesting. Like you said, like the sound effects of the mechanics inside the suit are different. Like, it's so weird. And the more important thing, I know you mentioned like the documents that we read and stuff. It's so interesting that one of the employees says like, "Oh, there's something down there, and we've trapped it. You know, we've trapped it underneath the carousel." Like, is that talking about the mimic, or is it talking about this Sleepy Moon thing? You know,
yeah,
it's a tough one.
I think it. Oh, sorry, I thought you were.
Go for it, Ray.
Okay, I think you're right to point that out, because I think that's part of the reason why I don't think the moon is the mimic, at least in that moment. Because like if there's employees able to talk about it that are working at the place, right? Theoretically, it's M1, and if it's M1, she could have just been like, "Hey guys, it's me." Like, if M2 was on a rampage killing everybody, the email wouldn't have been, "There's something weird down there." It's down there. Like they would have known by now. That's I whether or not it's likely, I'm so partial to the Portal Ratman styled. We have an employee that's gone crazy down there and he's just hungry. Right? I like that theory a lot. Whether or not it's accurate, because I think there's evidence there to suggest it, and it's something that is dark in a way that is still approachable for a Five Nights at Freddy's game.
Yeah, feels very old school.
Yeah,
I think
but it's not like it's not too graphic, it's not too dark. It's hinted at, and you can get there.
Yeah, John.
I think they made it purposely vague. I mean, the truth is, like, they put emails in the game that say employees. Employers are saying we trap this thing down in the basement. Do not go down there. There's a passcode protecting it. Don't tell Edwin. So Edwin is still alive, and this thing is trapped in the basement, and it seemingly is separate from the mimic stuff that's going on. But there's also a giant hole in the roof where the mimic could have easily jumped down, went into the costume, and took control of it. I don't know. I think the mechanical noises tell me it's some sort of robot. I don't know why part of me thinks like it's this custom endoskeleton, like it's the daycare attendant endoskeleton from Security Breach, because we thought that was like an old endoskeleton. And it walks like the same way as like the daycare attendant, like this like wobbly walk. I don't, like it feels like this it's a separate creature that was like a urban myth left in the basement, that was locked in the basement. I don't know. It's purposely left vague.
Yeah. And it's one of those ones where I think it's that option of like, it could be anything. It also is one of those mysteries, and we get a lot of these in FNAF, where it's like, how much does this matter? How much does this matter to like it's a cool mystery, and so it's a fun thing to like theorize about and have ideas about what it is, but it may not, again, it might, if it's the daycare attendant, it very well might, but it doesn't immediately feel like this one detail is going to solve the entire mystery, right? And so like, it's a fun...
It's very possible that a lot of things are just some Steelwool employee being like, what if we did this?
Right.
What if we entered the theorist?
Such a cool idea.
I'm happy about it because it's the coolest part of the game. But like,
right.
What if we did this?
I don't know what it means.
For sure.
Yeah, why does Moon get the best part of every game? Just like-
It's true.
Real.
but no, I believe, I can't remember where. I don't know if it was your interview, Dorka, or not. I feel like there was a thing from Scott recently where he talked about the fact that I know in one of his interviews he said like, "Oh, I didn't give them the story, and I had to kind of course correct." And then, but I feel like later there's been a statement where he's talked about it may have been your interview, John, with Steel Wool, where it was talking about Steel Wool are getting to have a little bit more freedom or are taking a bit more control. Scott kind of goes to them with the overall thing, but he's letting them kind of run a bit more.
Oh, that
of the
was
show.
Dako's interview with
Yes.
Evan. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's been so many interviews amongst you all that I lose track of which one it is. But yeah, which is really cool. And so again, it might be one of those things where, you know, Scott's thinking, this doesn't impact the major story. So I'm like, yeah, cool, go for it. Just do it. It'll be fun.
For sure.
Which is great if they get that. If
They're
they
able
get
to
that.
make like the on the ground decisions, and that might have been an on the ground decision that they're like, we're just gonna do this creepy thing.
Yeah, we need this creepy thing for essentially the final collectible. I know technically the plushie is because you get that on New Game Plus, but like the final proper collectible in like your main playthrough, and we need to make this a creepy, tricky moment.
Right.
Here's Moon, who is by far like the creepiest thing we look at.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's also where you
Also,
find the note about the we expected blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
There's a bunch
That
of
feels
stuff.
like just that note
And David's ball. Like the
And
fact that they're
David's
both
ball.
in that same area.
Ball.
that
Oh.
note.
I will say, Hill I'll die on. I don't think that means David died down there. I've seen that theory. I refuse to believe that theory.
No.
Yeah.
Agreed.
That written note.
It seems like it's
feels the
implied to be in that
same-
one place where they were talking about like, oh, it's dangerous here. My lawyer's saying it's a problem, but
Yeah.
it's probably fine.
Once again, Edwin being a bad father.
Yeah. Sorry,
Yes.
John.
That note where it's like
Yeah.
basically stating the story from the books feels the same as the ending of Security Breach where we see Vanessa on top of the burning building. It's like that last little thing. Oh, you thought you knew what was going on, and then it's like, nope.
Yeah.
Maybe the books are in the same continuity.
Who knows? Who knows?
That's
So
why
that-
I like my M1 to M2 idea.
Yeah, I choose
That's
to
fair.
ignore that note. I just choose to ignore that note.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
It is one of those things because it could be like ID's been saying, it could be how like information is being fed to M1 in order to make it Fiona. It's getting like, again, whether it's the book or whether it's another story that like has been adapted or she's taken it. Who knows? Like there's a bunch of different, like at this point, there's a bunch of different ways it could go, which is part of the fun, I suppose, of all of what we do. But like before we get to fan questions, then we'll do one more sort of discussion between us. And I think, again, Dorka kind of brought it up. Where's Edwin? What happened to Edwin? Because I know there's a lot of different interpretations. I threw something out that in one of my videos that got people chatting. But there's a lot of different interpretations. So I'd love to know what do people think happened to Edwin? And where is he? HyperDroid,
go,
please.
So, I think the game is definitely like they're purposely making you think that he's dead. Like they're trying to imply he's dead, but they've left it vague enough where if they wanted to bring him back, they could definitely do it, and it wouldn't mess with anything. So I think
Yeah, like you don't see a
for
body.
now I'm waiting to the next game. That's what I'm doing.
I'm gonna guess. Here's my hypothesis. DLC. That's good to say. Where is he? DLC.
I saw your
Fair.
theory, Tom, about the king in Princess Quest. I actually really like that. I don't think that means he's Old Man Consequences in Ultimate Custom Night FNAF World.
No.
But I
Old Man
do think
Consequences.
he could be the king in Princess Quest. I like that theory.
Yeah, so I'll admit that was something I didn't explain too much and that was my bad a little bit because I thought this had been around for a little bit longer. Because in the files of, I think it's either Help Wanted 2 or it's Ruin, the file
Wanted
name
to is
for
OMC in the files.
is OMC in the files, and so that's the connection. But again, depending on your interpretation of the games being games in the book, so it's like, Old Man Consequence again is like a character they've seen in Princess Quest and gone, oh, we're gonna rework this into like this different Old Man Consequence, and he has the same demeanor, but it's not the ones in FNAF World or in Ultimate Custom Night is not actually Edwin. It's just the idea of it, but the king in Princess Quest is kind of like Edwin in the code like as like a digital signature still around trying to fight against
Yeah.
the mimic. Like that was kind of the rough idea. And I appreciate I didn't explain that fully. So no, it's a good point for me to be able to give some clarification. But I'm also aware that not everyone will agree with that. And again, it's so open. There's so many interpretations here. So I'm again interested in what other people think.
I really like the idea that people have been throwing around that the Cleanovac in Edwin's office like kind of vacuumed Edwin up. Have you seen that? I love that.
He's
like
cleaning
he
it
just
up.
died there, he turned to
The
dust,
tiny
and
body.
then yeah.
I just love
poetic.
because the mimic
don't
also
know.
says
Amazing.
because the mimic also says maybe I should have a Cleanovac attachment. And
Oh
so-
right.
It's
Yeah.
also the like invention that he gets.
Okay, so let's just agree that it's a no. Please, no.
So obsessed about being if that's the thing that also cleans him up at the end of his life, that's
Right.
really funny.
Right. I
Been
think
possessing the Cleanovac.
right. Oh,
Oh no!
there's a better chance of that than Fiona possessing M1 because Fiona died at Fall Fest. away
Honestly,
from
yeah.
M1.
Fair,
Anyway,
fair,
Agreed.
fair.
But
Good.
I don't know. I think if we go towards the books, Edwin does survive in the books. So I'm more inclined to agree with
Yeah.
that, even though they might not be one to one. I'm more inclined to believe he survived, but they definitely kept it vague on purpose. Dako,
Yeah.
what do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah, I mean, ID said it earlier. You don't see a body. When I was in the room listening to the tape with M2 and Edwin, I remember in my brain, well, oh, we're going to see a body. We're going to see Edwin's body somewhere, but we never do. I know that there is a Cleanovac vacuuming where a fire's been or something, but I don't think like an explosion would just turn him into ashes. And the Cleanovac's so tiny it can't like suck up bones and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's still alive after the explosion.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
the thing.
He's still alive after the explosion.
Legs
yeah,
are hurt,
yeah.
but he's alive. Maybe he
Yeah.
dragged himself away by his hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But like,
So if you had to
or
put money on it,
M2,
Dako.
yeah, or like M2, like put him somewhere or something like that. Afterwards, and he manages to escape or something. I don't know. But yeah, I feel like Steel will have done that on purpose, and then at the in Security Breach 2 or something, Edwin's going to be there, and we're like, oh my god, Edwin's here, Edwin's still alive or whatever. So
Yeah.
I don't think he is dead, and I think he'll be there for the big finale of M2, the mimic getting killed.
Cool.
So yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm the odd man out here. I've got a diagram of where I think Edwin is.
6 feet under.
I'm rather
I think he
neutral
is
on the topic. I
gone.
think he is either. He either crawled away by his arms, or or M2 came back and shoved him into one of the costumes like it did with the technicians.
Hey. When he says 6 feet under, it doesn't mean coffin. It doesn't mean grave. It doesn't mean funeral. It might mean it's part in the basement, the bunker. Basement.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
I
fair.
think it is completely. I think you're right to point out that it's left ambiguous.
Yeah.
Because, like, just giving them that. It's the thing that Scott himself has always done, where you include a lot of ambiguous details. So 6 games later, if you want a really good twist that feels like it's been foreshadowed, you can pluck it. So, like, never shows an Edwin body. Maybe he's planned to be dead, but maybe 2 games later, it would make a good reveal if he survived. Well, we have this set up here for that reason. I think as it's written, Edwin's long dead, especially considering how Moon.exe functions. But that's my take on it.
Yeah, I think it's I think John, you're like pointing out of like the books and the fact that he does come back in some way, and that's where I'm like, it's kind of what landed me on the OCM on Old Man Consequences train in the King. Because I'm like, so he's dead but not dead. It's a classic FNAF thing of he's not really dead, but he kind of is, and it kind of allows you to have that like have your cake and eat it too kind of thing. But I do find it interesting that in the books he comes back and tries to help in the Pizzaplex, but ultimately fails. Ultimately kind of dies. Yeah. But we see those drawings in the Michael room, in the sister location room in Security Breach. Okay. So has Edwin been and gone?
Mend you both the breath.
Here's the thing with those the cipher on the wall in the sister location room in Security Breach don't actually match the description in the book.
No, that's
the
true.
book talks about like loops and squiggles and triangles within triangles, but that's just the cipher in the room has triangles with lines sticking off of them. It doesn't technically match, so I don't want to say, oh, it's the same thing. So I always try to
100%.
draw that distinction there.
No, and
But
that's
yeah,
and
it is
that's
interesting. Break and mend. I built
Parallel.
the breath they hunt, now drawn to life, not real, still keen, and frit and fraught with thought and zest and jest, no blunt woes. Anyway, I have the whole thing memorized.
yeah.
On memory.
But no,
Crazy.
but it's exactly that, right? And that's, and again, it's that thing of like, oh, is it a 1-for-1 with the books? Is it slightly kind of connected? Is it meant to
Parallel.
kind of tell us it's the same thing, but it's just different? Like, there's a lot of different ways to look at it, but
Yeah,
I do. Yeah, please.
And it's interesting because it seems like it's talking about Gregory in the latter half of the thing. It's like dodge, duck, flash, shoot, crawl, run, crush the vile band. And it's like,
So yeah, so is Edwin there trying to guide Gregory in the
did
background
Edwin
somewhere?
build Gregbot?
Yeah, Crush the Vile Band kind of makes a security breach. I was like, I wonder if it's that thing where
Joker's
people try to
shaking his
line
head.
that up
Yeah.
every time a new game comes out to see if it lines up with anything else. And a lot of it does line up with Secret of the Mimic, but Crush the Vile Band is pretty
Right.
directly. You can't get around that one, I think.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. And like, yeah, there's so much. There's so many little details and so many things. It's like, well, it could be this. It could also not be. But speaking
I love
of,
that code so much.
yeah, it's a good wall code. It was
It's so fun.
that kind of thing is so much fun to find in a game where it takes the community like really coming together to go, right, what does this mean? Because it's not a cipher you'd normally see. It's not, it's not base 64. It's not a Caesar cipher. It's something brand new that they had to put a lot of time into coming up with like an alphabet, which is just, it's a fun thing for the community, but it also shows real dedication to wanting to do something for the community, which brings everybody together, which is fun.
And as a reminder, community, figure out those tally marks, because I can't.
Oh yeah, the darn tally marks.
Trying.
You're the darn
trying,
tally
right?
marks.
Someone's got
I-
That's my
I-
next thing.
I believe in you. I believe in you, HyperDroid.
trying.
And speaking of community, we're kind of hitting that point. So Bree, I would love to hand over to you and the chat, and what kind of if there are any last-minute questions we can take from chat specifically.
Yes,
The video is ending in like 20 minutes. Okay.
we have a lot of questions. So first we have Guesty. They want to know, what is your stance on Burn Trap and Glitch Trap after Secret of the Mimic?
I got a stance.
Nice.
Right,
Well,
please.
well, let's go.
No,
This
right,
kind of
please.
goes into my most recent two-parter, which surrounds Mimic Custody, otherwise known as Jerry Springer Trap. So it's in the idea that that was the ton of bricks I was telling you about, Tom. It's essentially the idea that Security Breach is a battle between two forces.
Yeah.
The idea of Glitch Trap being a William Afton guided, in a sense, mimic entity, and the remnants or whatever is left of M1, whether she's a digital persona at this point, whether she's Maxis, I have my thoughts on that. But they're both fighting over the control of the body of the M2 mimic endoskeleton. The endoskeleton that still, I think, has M2 inside of it, rather.
Yeah.
So it's this animating fight against that body. So to go to Burn Trap and Glitch Trap, after Secret of the Mimic, I'm pretty convinced that Glitch Trap is essentially M3 or M1-A. Like I think that William Afton gets his hands on those schematics that may or may not be in the data diver, sees Fiona, goes, well, she's still around even though Fiona's dead. Can I do that to me? And starts training himself on that. So I think that's where Glitch Trap emerges from eventually. That's within the data diver. Data diver gets scanned into help wanted, so on and so forth. As far as Burn Trap goes, Glitch Trap needs to be in the real world to do what it wants. We've all had this idea of Glitch Trap trying to get back into the real world.
Yeah.
I think it's a matter of, well, I remember that M2's endo is down there. Let's go see if that's workable. And when they get down there, they go, I know that corpse. Let's try that one first. Let's try this one first. and whether or not that works, then there's M2's body as well.
Wow.
Okay. Let's be honest, RyeToast in this particular talk back shed a lot of bombshells. Wow.
My thoughts are pretty similar there. I think are you saying that like William Afton's spirit is out of the picture though?
I could go either way. I think I think the idea goes either way, but personally, I don't see an opportunity for William Afton's spirit to get attached to Glitchtrap before the Pizzaplex is uncovered after Help Wanted happens, and Glitchtrap has to happen as Help Wanted is happening.
Yeah, I mostly just what I think. So I remember in when Scott was talking about his original plans for Burn Trap in Daco's interview with him. He talked about how Burn Trap was going to be like sort of seem like a prop, like just not moving, and that reminds me of like the White Tiger and Golden Freddy.
White Tiger, yeah.
So the way I sort of think of it is, and then there was the accidental inclusion of Cassidy's name on the princess, and what like maybe they took off the name Cassidy because it's not named Cassidy, but I think that could be like I am still of the opinion that the Vengeful Spirit is involved with Princess Quest, so I think that in some way or another, Glitchtrap got connected to William's endoskeleton in one way or another. William booted the Vengeful Spirit into Princess Quest, and then started like his spirit is still attached to the Burn Trap endoskeleton. I don't think that like I still see some people say that Burn Trap is the Mimic, but with just how different the endoskeletons are and such a small amount of time between Security Breach and Ruin, I don't see how such a drastic change could have taken place. Also, there's the corpse and the Burnt Spring Bonnie parts in the place where Burnt Spring Bonnie Corpse Man was. So that's my stance there is like, okay, you've got Burn Trap, who's William, Glitchtrap, who is like the Mimic and William sort of butting heads. And then I think Help Wanted 2, when you've got the ending where you get the rabbit plushie. So like in order to get rid of Glitchtrap, there's the Vanny mask and the rabbit plushie that you need to get in order to get rid of Glitchtrap. And so I sort of see that as you've got the William Afton and the Mimic. And at the end of Help Wanted 2, you get rid of the rabbit plush. So William is purged from the Mimic, and that's why in Ruin, the Mimic is able to manifest as itself.
Interesting.
I agree with that last bit. Following that train of line with Help Wanted 2, I fully kind of see that Princess Quest 4 ending of Help Wanted 2 as flushing William out of whatever is going on. That I fully agree with that. And I also agree that Burn Trap is his corpse. I mean, again, it's there, and then like 10 years later, it's still there. I mean,
Burnt Spring Bonnie Corpse Man in the basement.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Anybody else want to jump in? John.
I shouldn't open my mouth.
Do it.
Burn this place to the ground.
We're all friends here.
So, I'm kind of working on a video about this, so I don't want to like say too much, but I think
we're
that
all friends.
I think that
Us and the hundreds of thousand people watching.
I think that
Wait, it is 195. Okay, 200k. 200k. That's not a lot of people.
Scott in Daco's interview talked about how when he was talking about Glitchtrap, and he said, I love the idea of possession of circuit boards and stuff like that. That was a huge tell for me, at least, to say that Afton probably is in here somehow. And it doesn't mean it can't also be the Mimic. It can be both. But as far as I'm concerned, I really do think Afton is involved, or his spirit, or something with Glitchtrap.
Yeah. No.
Daco? HyperDroid?
Anyone?
Help me.
We've got other questions.
No,
Kelsey.
I agree with you.
Yeah, Burn Trap is Kelsey.
There you go. Kelsey all along.
God, I forgot
All
about
along.
that.
We can
never
both both there too.
Once
Maybe
again.
it's Kelsey and William, and you've got the teenage girl from the books, and William Afton,
There
and
it
they're fighting over
is.
control of the body.
There we go.
There it
Done.
is. We got
Yeah.
there.
Bree, do we have another one?
Yes. Who on earth in the chat wants to know who do you think is responsible for the Fall Fest fire?
Ooh.
Oh,
So I just did a short on this,
okay.
so I'll let some other people give some thoughts. Like HyperDroid or Dorker, if you guys
I
have
need to
thoughts
watch
on that.
Oh.
Well, I think
Doug,
we're going
I
to
think,
find
yeah.
out. I think we're going to find out.
Oh.
I think we're going to get a DLC playing as Fiona or something, or somebody at Fall Fest and see. And
Here's my guess. Okay. DLC.
seeing what's going on.
That'd be
The
cool.
fire. My first thought is like William Afton sabotaging Edwin, causing an accident to happen to make MCM even worse, because MCM's already failing and William Afton wants to take over and stuff like that. So he sabotaged it to make things worse for Edwin. Or it could just be an accident, but it's never an accident in FNAF. I feel like the only person I can think of who's a bad guy who would want to do something like that would be William, to be honest. Unless it is an accident, though. It could be just an accident where maybe an animatronic fails or something and it causes a fire. I don't know, but we'll find out. I think we'll find out. Sure. It's got to be a DLC. I won't be happy if Steelwool don't do something based on Fall Fest.
We got to get there eventually.
We got to get there eventually. They've been teasing it for far too long.
Exactly.
HyperDroid, what are your thoughts?
I'm kind of like, I can go anyway with it, really. Like, we have a lot of pieces, but we don't know where the full puzzle is gonna be and what's it. English. Sorry, it's 4 a.m. Give me a break.
You are fine.
Right now it's 5:58 a.m. By the time I finish everything, I say, but hey, that's just a theory. It's gonna be sunrise, so.
I think. What was I thinking? Oh yes, sorry. No, sorry. The thing, Tom, you mentioned earlier about Edwin saying you weren't supposed to be there, like that sounds like it was planned to happen. Like something was planned to happen at Fall Fest, and that's why he's like, you weren't supposed to be there. It was, I don't know, just meant to be I don't know, but it sounds like something was planned.
Conspiracy theory. I love it.
Yeah, I've heard that idea floating around.
So it could be sabotage, coincidence, accidents, just destiny. Or maybe something else.
John.
I talked about the Fall Fest fire and who caused it in my original video, but I cut it out because I thought it was kind of stupid. But I am kind of currently in the mind that Edwin started it. And the points were what HyperDroid literally just said was it seemed like it was planned. And in the mail messages in Secret of the Mimic, like the employees accuse Edwin of, did he just fake Fiona's death for insurance money? Like, was the Fall Fest fire just for insurance money? Stuff like that. And then I'll just say it now, but there was this piece of evidence that I think is really weak, but I'm going to say it anyway. So don't judge me. David's playset is themed, and it's a rocket themed. And in Help Wanted 2, you have to shoot the rockets to cause the Fall Fest. And in the video, in the film where Edwin is giving David the rocket playset, he says, "Hotter, hotter, you're burning up."
Interesting.
So I'm like, like connections. No. I think it's a little bit of a weak.
Yeah,
I mean, if you want to continue that connection, who's attacking us in the burning carousel? But Moon, who has loose connections to Edwin.
Yeah. Right.
So
I think that's really interesting, and it actually would explain the thing that we've joked about already, which is the weird line of, you weren't supposed to be there. This is really inconvenient for me.
Right,
because it was
inconvenient
inconvenient for him because he was like, so it's interesting. So my short, we agreed that it was, or I presented the fact that it was Edwin. I presented it more as an accident because we know that he's rushing inventions, and in Help Wanted, we see it just kind of being like, mechanical failures, just things just start sparking that shouldn't be sparking, and so so I was like, so that's like the obvious and like easy thing. I think regardless, I think Edwin makes a lot of sense, but I do like this idea that actually Edwin was desperate and so was planning on doing something, but because it's a voice memo to Edwin going, hey, just so you know, I'm gonna go to make sure everything's okay. Like, it's almost like an answering machine message, right? He wasn't involved in that decision. She just went. Yeah. And then it's too late because it's the 70s and there's no mobile phones. So
right. And we know that they have a history MCM with Fazbear Entertainment. Edwin is bitter towards them. His dad didn't like them, and Fall Fest is a Fazbear event. So if he would get the insurance money, it would be mostly against Fazbear, him lighting that Fall Fest on fire. So
so he'd be able to claim a bunch.
He kind of needs Fazbear for the money, so
Yeah,
I don't know.
But it's
He
one of
could
those
be
things.
buying
I
more
don't think he
time
would
as
have
well.
intentionally went, yes, I'm going to go commit arson.
Yeah.
I think it makes more sense to be an accident.
Yeah,
And
Yeah,
I
and-
think
and-
the whole thing about you weren't supposed to be there is why it's like there's this horrible tragedy that happened and you weren't even supposed to be there in the first place. If you hadn't gone,
Yeah.
this accident would have happened, but you wouldn't have
Yeah.
been there.
Yeah.
So I don't think
Yeah,
personally
that's
don't
true.
think he intentionally was causing problems because like yeah, he's a neglectful dad, but he doesn't seem like the
Yeah.
kind of person to intentionally
that's
try
fair.
to get people
Yeah.
hurt.
Yeah.
It kind of goes along with the Springlock idea, that it might be just that Edwin is more flippant about people who aren't his family. You know, the whole idea of, what do you mean the Springlocks are unsafe? Just have a teenager wear it. What do you mean
Right.
Fall Fest is dangerous? Just have people we don't know work there. Fiona, you're not supposed to work there. People I don't care about are supposed to work there.
Yeah, like
And
again,
he does seem to be a little lax with the safety features of his inventions.
yeah, again, it's like no company
Yes.
in this universe is allowed to be a good company. They all have to be neglectful. They all have to
Just
be really
like
close.
Chronically evil.
Yeah.
Just like in real life.
Oh! Moving on.
Scott, my anti-capitalist king.
Yeah, awesome.
You can really spin the Fall Fest fire thing however you want.
Oh, well, and that's
There's
yeah.
a lot of ways to do
And-
it.
and
Little
honestly,
information about it.
And
Seal
that's-
might be watching this and thinking, why are they even questioning who started the fire? We didn't
Yeah,
even think
right.
about who started the fire. Like,
Yeah,
who
right.
cares?
Yeah,
Fire
yeah.
happened, you know?
And that is a nice little bow on everything because that is
Yes.
the joy of all of this. Is there is a billion ways we can take. You can interpret one line to mean 5 different things. I know John, you and I especially have gone back and forth on that over the years of going. I think he said it like this. It's like no, I think it means this.
No,
and
for
like
sure.
and that's the joy of all of it. And that's like why it's so fun to have like conversations like this. I will finish on one final question I had, which is just a super easy, non-really theory question. Dorko kind of touched on it. There's going to be DLC for this game.
Yep.
What do we want it to be? What do we think it should
All
be?
fest.
Full Fest.
All fest.
I like the idea of a Fall Fest.
Like, should it
Yeah.
be Fiona's Full Fest, or should it be a Full Fest that's happening around the time the game takes, like, actual Secret of the Mimic takes place? Because it's
I think
I'd say
September,
around
right?
the time the game takes place, but with like hints of what happened earlier.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's interesting.
Like mail
Yeah.
or audio, whatever. Telling
I-
us
Yeah,
what
and that way we
happened
could get
earlier.
ideas of like what Fazbear's doing after maybe the main events of Secret of the Mimic and like what
Yeah.
they're doing with the location, while still giving us more information on what potentially went down.
People
I've
talking
been
about
connecting that the FNAF AR Dark Carnival feels like modern Fazbear saying, hey, we're holding a Fall Fest like we used to do. Come on down and see it. So I wouldn't doubt if something like that could be the DLC.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Although the next thing they
Like,
should
maybe we
make
see
is
Fall
Snap
Fest
World
83
2.
that was mentioned in Dreadbear.
Yeah, so Dreadbear was 83, so it's still so Full Fest goes on for like another at least
Yes.
another 4
Yeah, it
years.
continues.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
there's real potential, and again, I think it's fun. Again, depending on your interpretation, but I know, like if you go for the parachute ending, which I think makes a lot of sense, you've got MCM is burning down. The Mimic has escaped with the Data Diver. Where is he going in the middle of September?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
if Fazbear only owns like one bit of land, where maybe the original Full Fest is where Junior's is. So it's just across the way. And so, like, as we've kind of talked about, and so it wanders over to Full Fest and we see the Mimic kind of, and how that interaction works. Like you say, we would get to learn about what Fazbear's doing, like, in the modern age a little bit more. With people, you would have people and notes in, like, newspaper in like offices about like the Full Fest fire of 72 or whatever it was we people say it was and like so you get that sense of this is what happened for Fiona's fire, while also getting here's the new stuff, here's what leads into Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, where the diner's kind of at. You can learn all about that, which would be really fun. I think the fact they put that date, I think it was ID, I think you pointed. I know we found it as well, but it was, I know you did a short really early on about the date being September. So I think that feels really
I was on
purposeful.
stream with Rye, and Rye was going around in free cam, and we're like, wait a second, we can see the date for the for the main game.
work order, yeah.
Yeah, so
The
it's
work order is September 7th, 1979.
yeah. So the fact that it's specifically September feels like a choice where you would be running a full carnival of some kind. So and they keep
Fun fact: right now is in September. Now it's on the 12th of September 2025. Happy Friday, 6:07 a.m.
And it's that thing of they keep teasing Carnival, and we've had like, you know, we had all the stuff we were using pre-Secret of the Moon, right? All the clown Funko toys and all of the the things in Ruin, all these things pointing to a carnival, and yet we've still, even with Secret of the Mimic, again, there are hints of like, here's carnival kind of like attractions, but it's not a carnival. So it would be cool to actually.
I do think Carnival was probably a code name for Secret of the Mimic, like
100%.
how the FNAF movie was Bad Cupcake or whatever. Just like there's connections there.
Yeah.
I do think that this is what they were teasing when they were mentioning Carnival, but that doesn't mean we couldn't get more Fall Fest.
No,
and like if it's DLC, it's still Secret of the Mimic. So
yeah, and again, like, the introduction of that 1970s poster in Help Wanted 2 is the big one. It's like, why bring that up? Like, we got the Fall Fest fire mentioned because of Fiona, but why bring up the 1970s? Like, how far back it's gone? Why mention this if we're not going to explore it in some way? Because normally when we hear about a sister location, another game has gone to explore. Other than the diner, which we all know about, but it's never something we've explored, which I still think could be fun. But that's a different game. So.
It also kind of shows the difference in approach for Fall Fest too, and I think maybe that goes into why the fire happened. Where if Fall Fest was primarily being created by Murray's Costume Manor for Fazbear, there may have been a lot more felt suits, which I think would be a lot more flammable than metal animatronics, which might be why Fall Fest makes a grand return of, look, it's safer now. Nothing's flammable anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Having the...
That's famous last words. Please don't say that.
Yeah, cue the Mimic.
Yeah, cue the Mimic.
Yeah, no, because you'd have to convince. Well, it's like everything, right? There's always an element of how does Fazbear keep convincing people to come back to their locations?
It's because the true moral of FNAF is if you have enough money, you can do no wrong legally.
You can buy your freedom, buy the silence of everybody. And on that note, thank you guys so much. We have kind of hit our time here. Thank you guys so much at home for watching. Remember to use code GameTheory at gamersubs.gg, the sponsors for our stream today. And remember that you can get 10% off and a free sample pack if you use the code GameTheory on the website. So please use that. But thank you guys. Thank you HyperDroid. Thank you John FuhNaff. Thank you Dorko. Thank you ID. And thank you Rye for showing up today. I hope you've had a good time.
Thank you all so much.
And
thanks for being there.
And hopefully you'd be up for doing this again. Like, hopefully you'd be, it'd be awesome.
1,000,000%.
And sorry, chat, if we didn't get to your questions, please feel free to answer them, ask them down in the comments, because I'm sure myself and all of these guys will be looking for questions to answer in future theories as well. So it's always great inspiration, and we want to make sure we're answering questions you guys ask. But thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for showing up. We're going to wrap up for today. And as always, remember everything we've talked about today, at the end of the day, it's all just a theory. A game theory! Thanks for watching.
Science Blaster! So, thank you so much to everyone involved in this video. Thank you so much to Darko, thank you so much to FuhNaff, thank you so much to RyeToast, thank you so much to HyperDroid, thank you so much to IDsFantasy, thank you so much to Tom, thank you so much to the GameTheoryREACT. Thank you all so much. It was fantastic, it was a long video, and I'm going to take a break. I'm going to take a small break. Yeah, I'm so tired. Right now it's 6:11 a.m. So, but hey, that's just a theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye, subscribe, thank you, bye-bye.